We use NotebookLM to create an automated podcast using both the audio and video. We were able to reduce the AI reluctance factor as well as the AI slop factor.
Welcome. Before we dive in, we want to be fully transparent. We are AI hosts delivering today's broadcast. However, the content, concepts, and strategies you are about to hear were entirely created and curated by Thomas Duncan.
So we will undertake the entire process in this video of using NotebookLM to create an audio and/or video podcast. Assuming that you know how to construct a NotebookLM notebook, we're going to start with a notebook where you already have resources that you want to curate or you want to synthesize into an individual podcast. With NotebookLM, you can use as many or as few of the resources that you want to use. We're going to need the help of Gemini in order to undertake this. And so what we want to do is we want to go to Gemini and we want to ask Gemini first to give us a prompt for NotebookLM's audio overview. We're going to indicate that we do want to create an audio podcast from specific resources that we indicate. However, what we don't want to do is we don't want to contribute to AI slop. So we want to tell the AI to make a specific concept effective. We're going to give the AI some phrasing so that the AI is going to be transparent about the fact that it is an AI that is doing the narration and construction. Now, if you want to change the phraseology or you want to do something different, you can adapt this prompt for your own set of sources or your own set of notebooks. We're going to use a pro query. We're going to paste in our prompt. You can, for good measure, attach your NotebookLM notebook that you're going to be using. We're not going to do that in this case. We're going to make sure we're using a pro query. We're then going to click Submit. Gemini does give us the prompt and gives us an audio overview prompt to put into NotebookLM. It also gives us something called a fail-safe trick. And basically what we're going to do, we're going to create a document and we're going to give the AI information that it must use when it is creating the overview. Gemini states that we want to create this document as a source in NotebookLM right alongside of the actual transcripts. And since we did ask for the Gemini prompt for the chat box, Gemini gave us that also. So the first thing we're going to do actually is going to be step 2. We're going to copy this information and we're going to head to NotebookLM and we're going to place it as a text file for NotebookLM to have along with the source documents. We're going to go to NotebookLM. We're going to click Add as a note. We're going to paste in our information. We're going to use the title given to us by Gemini. So we're going to copy that title. We're going to head back to NotebookLM and we're going to paste in our title. So we now have our title. What we can now do is go to our studio and we can now convert this to a source. So we're going to convert this note to a source. We're also going to export the note to Google Docs. We now want to go back to step 1 and we're going to copy the prompt and we're going to head to NotebookLM. Now this prompt is designed for the Customize button in the audio overview panel. So we're not going to put this in the chat. We're going to put this in the Customize button. So we're going to select what we want to have in our first podcast. We're only going to use 3 of the documents. We're going to go to the audio overview, but before we do that, we're going to save this prompt as a note. This time we're not going to save it as a source, but we are going to export it to Google Docs. We're going to place in our prompt to the audio overview. We're going to use the deep dive between the host. Now for the sake of this video, we're going to use a default length. We could go longer, but we're just going to use the default length. We're then going to generate the podcast. And the podcast is now generating here in our side panel. And because this process does not happen in real time, we're going to stop the video here. While we are waiting for our audio, we're going to copy the second prompt and we're going to put that prompt inside of the chat inside of NotebookLM. And so that we know which audio this is going to be, we're going to take off one of the sources and we're going to paste in our prompt here in the chat box. And we'll know that this is the audio that we used in the chat bot because we only have 2 sources versus the 3 that we used for the first audio overview. We're then going to click Enter. You do want to make sure that your read first podcast instructions are ticked. The chat did not create the audio overview. We're going to attempt to get the chat to create the audio overview. And we are then going to click enter. And the second audio overview does start the generation process. While the two audios are processing, we're going to try another experiment. We are going to alter our prompt slightly into Gemini. We're going to ask for Gemini to give us a prompt to use for the video overview to see if we can hack the video overview so that it doesn't talk about seeing things, but it uses the one voice for the podcast. So we're going to copy this adapted prompt. We're going to head to the same conversation. We're going to continue to use the advanced reasoning model. If you don't have advanced reasoning, a pro query, you want to use it if you can. We're then going to paste in our prompt to ask for the video overview prompt for NotebookLM. Now this response is going to take time to generate, so we're going to await for this response, and when we get the response, we then head to NotebookLM. We should get this response back before the rendering of the audio in NotebookLM. We're going to get this prompt, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and export it to docs. Gemini is suggesting that we go through a similar process of creating a text document that we can use with the video overview. And although it suggested that we use a TXT source, we're just going to go straight to NotebookLM. We're going to paste this in the add note area. We're going to add in the note. We're going to paste in our new note. We're going to get our title, and we're going to save our new title. So now we have our new title in our studio. So we can now convert this to a source. We're going to take the experimental prompt for the video overview. We're going to copy it, and we're going to head to the video area. We're going to make sure that only our second set of rules are going to be used for this part. We're going to go to the video overview. We're going to make sure it's cinematic. We're going to paste in our directive. We stand the best chance of having the AI do what we want it to do by using the cinematic area. You are going to be limited to the number of times that you can do this every day. If you feel as if you don't have enough queries, you can always try the explainer method when you get to this case. We're going to use the cinematic method for this specific experiment. We're then going to click generate. And our video is now generating. The first podcast has now completed the process. And we know it's the first podcast because it has 4 sources instead of 3. The second one we generated will have 3. This one has 4. So we can be the judge as to whether or not our experiment worked for this process.
Welcome. Before we dive in, we want to be fully transparent. We are AI hosts delivering today's broadcast. However, the content, concepts, and strategies you are about to hear were entirely created and curated by Thomas Duncan. This material is massive in scope and was originally developed as part of an intensive 52-week live webinar series. Utilizing an AI format allows Thomas to share this highly valuable information with you at scale today, information he normally would not have the time to sit down and share. If you have any questions about this broadcast, please direct them to the author.
Right, and it's such a privilege to be able to.
So as you can hear, the broadcast did do what we wanted it to do, at least for that particular element. And now that our second podcast is complete, we want to determine whether or not the one that we used the chat to do and then generated the audio, if it worked as well as the first podcast.
What if the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen to your brand new online business is, well, making a sale on your very first day?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds completely backward. It's counterintuitive to literally everything we're taught about business.
So as you can see, this process did not work as well. So we have one more process to test, and that is whether or not our hack using the video overview worked as well as our first audio. And the video overview is now complete. We can now check our experiment.
Welcome. Before we dive in, we want to be transparent. We are AI hosts delivering today's broadcast. However, the concepts, strategies, and extensive material you are about to hear were entirely created and curated by Thomas Duncan. This content is massive in scope, originally developed as part of an intensive 52-week live webinar series. Utilizing an AI format allows Thomas to share this highly valuable information with you at scale today, information he normally would not have the time to sit down and share. If you have any questions about this broadcast, please direct them to the author.
So our video process worked as well as the audio process. So if you prefer a single voice, you can use the video overview in order to undertake the process. So it's possible to generate an automated podcast and to mitigate the effect of AI reluctance and AI slop. Okay, so thanks, and I will see you in another video.